Pour some almond brie for the maestros of the creamiest ever must-have smoothies. It's irresistibly delicious. More almond bries, please.
Don't forget the Punky Brew.
Happening now.
It's been quite a week. Today we've had some heavy snow. I'll break down how much fell and where, let you know how much warmer it's going to get tomorrow, and when we see the sun again, coming up in a few minutes.
Families in smaller counties are still without power and water. Coming up, how Kinney County is working together during this winter storm.
With the snow coming down, some people are still having power issues. We're going to talk to people in the Kirby area who are still without power.
Need milk, bread, or eggs? Coming up, we'll tell you what you can expect in the coming days if you're headed to HEB.
And Senator Ted Cruz under fire for leaving for Cancun while the state of Texas deals with this unprecedented winter crisis. What the senator is saying now. The news at 5 starts right now. And we begin with some late-breaking news. Cold temperatures may be to blame for the death of a 69-year-old man.
Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says deputies responded to a home in the 10,800 block of Green Lake Drive for a welfare check. He says the man here had not been heard from since last week. Deputies found him dead inside. Salazar says the home was 35 degrees, had no electricity. Now the medical examiner will have to determine the cause of death. New at 5, relief in temperatures coming, and so is relief to your water bill. SAWS customers want to pay attention to this one. SAWS announcing today a bill relief program. It will charge all customers the lower of two amounts on their next bill. Customers will either pay the total current charges for the month or last month's charges, whichever of those two is lower. The adjustment will apply to both residential and commercial accounts. In a statement, SAWS President and CEO Robert Puente says the last thing our neighbors need to worry about right now is their next water bill. End quote. The water utility says customers who are unable to pay that full balance can either set up a payment arrangement plan or another plan by going to saws.org/arrangement. Meantime, Governor Greg Abbott asking President Joe Biden to issue a major disaster declaration for Texas. The governor says if granted, this will give Texans the ability to apply for individual assistance from FEMA as they work to repair any damages to their homes. Governor Abbott also calling for reform at ERCOT, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. That's the state's power grid operator, saying the head of ERCOT claimed it was ready to handle these cold temperatures, when now we know that was not the case.
ERCOT failed on each of these measures that they said they had undertaken. Texans deserve answers about why these shortfalls occurred and how they're going to be corrected, and Texans will get those answers.
There are still some people across the state without power, some right here in San Antonio, leaving many people asking why. Our Dylan Collier will have more of those answers coming up tonight at 6.
And more of us are getting our power back as of noon today. Close to 99% of the CPS system had power again. But that remaining 1% included some who haven't had it for more than a day and a half. Garrett Berger headed out to a Kirby neighborhood this afternoon to talk with some of them about their extended time in the dark.
There hasn't been anything rolling about the power outage on Happiness Lane.
At this point, it's almost ridiculous because it's been so long and ours hasn't gone on and off. It's just dead.
According to a CPS outage map, as of just after noon today, the power had been out for nearly 1,300 customers in the area since Tuesday night. As snow was coming down again and other neighborhoods' power was already back up, these Kirby residents were still muddling through.
Somebody has to be the first one and the last one, but hopefully they'll get it back on.
CPS Energy CEO Paula Gold-Williams told reporters this morning that areas without power were because of equipment issues, some possibly caused by the outage management process. And they had to wait until that process was over to get these issues fixed.
If we had sent somebody out earlier to repair the equipment, it's already failed in a fault there. It needs a physical fix, but it would blow again.
As they waited for relief, residents did what they could to keep themselves warm.
Luckily, I have a lot of outdoor gear, and so we've been trucking along with camping stoves and food, and we're doing all right.
Their food cold.
Everything in the house is freezing except what's in the refrigerator.
And their hopes up.
We would love to enjoy the snow, but it's hard knowing that it's almost as cold inside than it is outside. I'm just hoping that it comes on soon.
Now, power has looked to be coming back slowly. Just around the corner, we saw a couple houses come on in the past 20 minutes. And of course, you see the CPS crews right here behind us, still working around the neighborhood. Now, we talked to a CPS spokeswoman earlier today. She said that she does not have an estimate for how long it's going to take for the rest of the roughly 6,500 customers without power to come back online. But we know that each and every one of them is hoping it's sooner rather than later. Live in Kirby, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
All right, thanks, Garrett. The week started off a winter wonderland for so many of us, but then turned into this winter crisis we're now dealing with, not just in San Antonio, but in smaller surrounding counties as well. In Kinney County, about 2 hours away from San Antonio, with a population of 3,600 people, many have been without power there for days. Tiffany Huertas has a look at what people in Bracketville have been dealing with.
Pipes have busted. Our kitchen sink pipe's busted.
Bracketville resident Alexis Gomez says they lost power early Monday morning.
My kids had already come and curled up in bed with me, and I could feel their little bodies, their little feet were cold.
Gomez says it's been a challenge keeping her family warm during this winter storm.
For the first 2 nights, we were staying warm, getting in and out of the truck.
As of Thursday morning, they still had no electricity or water.
It's our little camp we have set up out here. We have been hearing that there's just not enough energy, that the grids are overwhelmed.
Bracketville residents get their electricity through AEP Texas. The company says it's restored electric service to approximately 150,000 customers overnight late Wednesday into Thursday morning. Kinney County Judge Tully Shahan says they are helping the community as much as they can.
Yesterday alone, we passed out over 4,000 gallons of water in front of our Civic Center.
Shahan says first responders have also checked on residents without power.
Somebody should be held responsible.
Gomez tells me she got power a few hours ago, but is not sure how long it will last. Tiffany Huertas, KSAT 12 News.
I'm glad we did that story because there are a lot of people in our viewing area that are suffering from Del Rio all the way north. The extreme winter weather continues to affect hundreds of thousands of people across Texas. We're keeping an eye on the number of outages in our area. This is the CPS Power, CPS Energy map right now. It's currently reporting 163 active outages impacting just under 1,000 customers. Remember, it was up over 100,000 customers not long ago. If you'd like to see how your area is being impacted, we have this information posted on our website. Just head to KSAT.com to see our CPS outage map.
Senator Ted Cruz taking heat today for traveling to Cancun while millions of Texans are dealing with all this without water or power amid this winter storm. Pictures show Cruz at the Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston on Wednesday. Others show him inside the plane. In a statement, the senator said that he flew down for a night because his daughters asked to take a trip with friends and he wanted to be a good dad and fly with them. He also said he is, quote, in constant communication with state and local leaders to get to the bottom of what happened in Texas, end quote. Cruz is expected to fly back to Texas today.
And outside, we have the wintry weather. The snow still coming down across most of San Antonio. Not everywhere. It's starting to taper off. Let's take a look at the radar here behind me. And you see eastern Bexar County and parts of, well, even just the northern tip there, northeastern portion of Bexar County. It's starting to let up a little bit, but we still have some areas of heavy snow, particularly on the northwestern side of the county and even around 1604, Helotes, Leon Valley, up toward Hollywood Park area, Chavano Park. Still some moderate to heavy snowfall, even on the south and west side of town. You go farther west, and this is one of the rare situations where Del Rio area and Highway 90 west of San Antonio gets a lot more snow than everybody else. But this has been really the bullseye here. Del Rio, Bracketville, Uvalde area, still seeing the snow. It's starting to shrink a little bit in nature, and I do think it'll be coming to an end around 8-9 p.m. for everybody. But let's talk about snow totals here. Look at this. Let's pop some numbers up for you. The purple indicates some of the highest accumulations, generally on the order of 6 to 8 inches. And most of the snow has actually been right out there in the Del Rio area. We can pop up a few numbers here. Look at this. Del Rio, especially on the north side, 8 inches. We do have a report of about 10 inches measured in Del Rio from this storm. Coming up in a few minutes, we'll take a look at those snowfall accumulations across Bexar County, elsewhere across Texas, and talk about some refreeze tonight, how much warmer it'll get tomorrow, and a little issue I see into the weekend as well coming up.
All right, thanks, Adam. Don't forget about warming centers that are open in San Antonio and surrounding areas if you need them. On your screen right now, just a few of the warming centers that are out there and available. The Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in downtown San Antonio, Bexar County Fire Marshal's Office, Cross Point Church, several school gyms. Seniors and families with children are a top priority at these locations. You can find the full list and more information on our website, KSAT.com.
The San Antonio Zoo had to take emergency measures this week to protect many of its animals and reptiles that are vulnerable to the cold. To do it, its animal services staff spent several hours Monday actually moving a lot of those animals indoors. Take a look at this. The zoo's Riverview restaurant, now a flamingo sanctuary. Each one of these flamingos led by hand to where they needed to go. They say it wasn't that hard. The alligators, though, that took some doing. Yet they managed to do it safely. They are now on the floor in front of the hippo exhibit. Zoo staff had to do it because with no power, their ponds and enclosures didn't have the warm water they need to protect the animals' immune systems.
So when the water pump turned off, that means then it doesn't circulate the water to keep it warm.
Like everything else now, the snowfall has left the zoo more picturesque. Power to that pump has also been restored thanks to a donated generator. Otherwise, the rest of the animals seem to be enjoying the change of scenery. Coming up at 6, more about the big move at the San Antonio Zoo.
If you're planning a grocery store run because you're out of milk or you need water, check ahead. H-E-B's San Antonio stores closed for the day just a few minutes ago, but they plan to open tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Some closures, though, are still possible. 12 on your side's Marilyn Moritz on what to expect as H-E-B weathers the snow and replenishes the shelves.
Even as the snow falls, people are standing in line waiting for the store to open.
We need groceries. We need food.
Out of food, many out of power, and Nicole Wingfield out of water for 2 days.
I have to get water for our 1-year-old because we got to be able to make her food. At this point, I'm desperate. We've boiled all the snow that we had.
Despite wicked weather, H-E-B has most stores open. Hours are shortened and some items in short supply.
Obviously, the biggest one, with a majority of the state being under a water boil, is obviously bottled water.
H-E-B's Julie Bedingfield says they are working around the clock to stock water and more. At some stores last night, shoppers found certain shelves cleaned out. To meet needs, H-E-B has purchase limits on milk, bread, eggs, ice, even brisket and propane tanks, and bottled water. H-E-B says the weather caused a severe disruption to the food supply chain. Not only trucks traveling on ice, but water and power outages causing issues with warehousing, manufacturing, stores, and employees. For now, curbside pickup and home delivery is temporarily canceled.
Customers will continue to see those shelves replenished. And, we ask customers obviously to only buy what they need at this time. Like we said, we're really hoping conditions start improving over the next few days and that we're back to what we call normal, hopefully by next week.
Weather permitting, next week. Marilyn Moritz, KSAT 12 News.
Still ahead, that boil water notice SAW's recommending that customers boil your water before you use it. Got a lot of questions about what that means. We have those answers coming up next. With water shortages, low water pressure, and that boil notice in place from SAWS, there are a lot of questions that we all have about how we should be using our water during this winter crisis. So we took those frequently asked questions to SAWS to get you the answers.
Yeah, these questions are directly from you, our viewers. People are asking, why should we boil our water? Do we have to? How long will this last? SAWS recommends customers boil water to avoid potential contamination because of the low water pressure in the lines.
SAWS tells us they currently don't know whether or not the water is actually contaminated. They're saying this is a precaution. SAWS officials expect this boil water notice to last for the next several days, but not for the entire city. And they say they will alert areas when their water is good to drink without any boiling.
All right, to our next question. Does the water need to boil depending on how you plan to use it? Yeah, SAWS says yes. All water you cook with and drink should be boiled first, even if your water is filtered or comes out of your refrigerator. If you want ice, SAWS says boil the water first, cool it down, and then freeze it.
Okay, so as for how you boil your water, yes, we are talking about how to boil water, but it's important here. First, fill a pot with water, bring it to that boil. Once it's boiling, you have to let it stay at that boil for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, turn it off, let it cool. Once it's cooled down, then pour that water into a clean container. You can cover it and store it for later use. For more information from SAWS about this boil water notice, go to our website at ksat.com.
And yes, I have friends who say it is a challenge for me to boil water.
Well, now you know.
That says a lot about my cooking expertise there as well. All right, Adam, you showed us the snowfall totals from our viewing area down around the Del Rio area.
How about that?
That's impressive.
You know, so often if we show you the national high and low in the summertime, we'll show it because Del Rio is like the nation's highest temperature for the day. Yet now the irony, right, that they get the bullseye of the snow with nearly 10 inches measured there. So let's actually take a look at some of the observations of snow totals so far. So far at the airport, 2.25, but it's still coming down, and that observation is a few hours old. Seguin about an inch, Canyon Lake 5.3, Hondo 2.5, okay, Uvalde 3.5, Bracketville 7.5, Del Rio 9.7 inches of snow. So these are very impressive snowfall amounts. And these are what's measured, not what's estimated by the radar. Of course, we've got minor differences there. So let's take a look at the radar estimates, or I should say some of our weather watchers. And they're on the order of 2 to 4 inches generally across our area. All right, but these are the radar estimated snowfall totals. What I particularly like about this is it shows these contour lines. It indicates the haves and the have-nots. You go Elmendorf, Palo Alto College area, south side of San Antonio, Bexar County, about 2 inches estimated by the radar. But then you get farther to the north. We're talking Leon Springs, and you're looking at 6 inches estimated by the radar. And this is just like how rainfall works, right? Where we have the big difference between the haves and the have-nots. Here, you get up to Leon Springs, and you're looking at that 6-inch band, right? Right on the edge of that 6-inch band that moved through. But you go a little farther to the east to 281, you go to Stone Oak, and radar estimates are on the order of 3 inches. So half of what Leon Springs had, not in a very far distance either. I mean, the distance here, we're looking at about, let's say 10 miles, okay? Let's be generous with it. 10 miles, a 3-inch difference in snowfall accumulation. So that's pretty significant. I showed you those totals from Del Rio earlier in the show out west, those estimates of 8 inches and more. So actually, let's keep this close. You look at the north side of town, you're starting to see that snow come to an end. The edge here of that snow band and of that snow shield, it's basically coming to an end in Comal County. Kendall County still getting some, but you really have to get down into basically central San Antonio, south side of town, and even on the west side, we've got some of that still moderate to heavy snow coming down. Luckily, the sun has really baked the roadways, and they've just been mostly wet throughout the day, with the exception of the overpasses. They, of course, have been frozen throughout the day, frozen solid. But I anticipate a refreeze tonight. That's one of the problems. Quick look at the radar out west, and all this activity is still ongoing. It's just not as widespread in nature, and it's slowly going to be shrinking as well. So that activity gradually shrinking. One thing I want to point out here are the road temperatures, because that's very important. And I know the overpasses are frozen, but not all the side streets are frozen. Not all the main roads are frozen either. You look at these temperatures, and road temperatures in the mid-30s, okay? The sunshine goes a long way this time of year, but as the sun sets, we're going to lose that warmth on the roads, and we're going to have a refreeze where the roads are wet. Speaking of temperatures, looking at the readings out there, for the most part, we're right around the freezing point. 28 right now in Bernie, 29 in Bulverde. You look at those temperatures, and tomorrow morning we'll be in the upper teens. So a refreeze on the roads, slippery conditions to start the day in the upper teens, but then by the afternoon we'll have a lot of sunshine and we'll see those temperatures back in the mid 40s. So significantly improved roadways by tomorrow afternoon, a combination of the warmth and the sun. But into the weekend, Saturday morning, slick spots because of freezing fog with another round of 20s on the way. But by Saturday midday, noon, you'll be fine on the roads and back to 60 on Sunday.
I didn't know we had that map with road temperatures.
Oh, we've got
amazing.
It all, Spreester.
Did you slip your little homemade thermometers along the roadway? Is that what it is?
I buried them before this.
Yeah, I thought so. Sports is up next.
Our San Antonio Spurs are all set to head back home to Alamo City this afternoon after having to stay in Charlotte under quarantine for the last 4 days. That's after the NBA revealed that 4 Spurs players tested positive for the coronavirus. The Spurs charter flight was scheduled to depart Charlotte shortly after 2, but heavy snow and other related weather events have forced the Spurs to cancel their charter flight to San Antonio International this afternoon, since they don't have snow plows to remove the snow. As a result of the positive test, and in conjunction with the league's health and safety protocols, the Spurs had 4 games postponed after winning back-to-back games against the Hawks in Atlanta last Friday and the Hornets in Charlotte on Sunday. Since that time, the league postponed their next 4 games: Detroit on Tuesday, Cleveland on Wednesday, Saturday's game in New York, Monday's game in Indianapolis. Their next scheduled game is Wednesday in Oklahoma City. It appears that this time that's where they'll try and pick up their season.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
Big trade today in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles have sent quarterback Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts in exchange for a 2021 third-round draft pick and a conditional 2022 second-round draft pick that could become a first-round draft pick depending on Wentz's playing time in Indianapolis. That's according to ESPN today, that says if Wentz plays 75% of the snaps for the Colts, then the second-round pick in 2022 becomes a first-round pick. In addition, the second-rounder becomes a first-round pick if Wentz plays 70% of the snaps and the Colts make the playoffs. The deal cannot be finalized until the league's free agent period opens on March 17th. Get this, the Eagles will take a $33.8 million dead cap hit, while the Colts will assume the responsibility of paying Wentz the remainder of his $128 million extension, which includes a $10 million roster bonus due next month. The Colts needed a quarterback when Philip Rivers announced his retirement, but that leaves Jalen Hurts as the Eagles' starting quarterback, even though he's expected to face competition for the job. And now that means the number 1 draft pick in 2016 and the number 2 overall pick have been traded after Jared Goff, the number 1 pick, was sent to Detroit. Just a reminder, the San Antonio Rodeo has been postponed again tonight, and due to the continuing winter weather emergency we're facing here in San Antonio and across the state that has produced rolling blackouts and more recently water pressure issues, rodeo officials releasing a statement that says in part they have adjusted the schedule for the safety of our rodeo athletes, livestock exhibitors, and volunteers. Here's the latest updated schedule. Monday's rodeo at Sunday at 7, Tuesday rodeo Saturday at 1, Wednesday's rodeo moved to Sunday at 1, and the rest of it looks like today's rodeo going to Sunday on the 27th at 1 p.m. All livestock events moved to Friday. More coming up at 6.
Thank you, Greg.
Got it.
We'll be back.
Snow ending around 9 o'clock, then a refreeze on the roads tonight and some freezing fog possible Saturday morning, but warmer into the weekend.